And we are live. Yes. Okay. Now, how would you like to be unrecognizable to yourself, to your family, to your community, to your industry? How would you like that over the next 12 months? Like you need to let me know in the chat. How many of you would like that over the next 12 months? You're unrecognizable. Even to yourself, you're like, "My goodness, how did I get here?" If you're going to do that, if you're going to experience that, you're going to do it in a strategic way. You're going to do it based on principles. You're going to do it based on the 7 habits I'm going to show you today. 7 habits you need to adopt if you want to become unrecognizable, if you want to radically transform your life over the next 12 months. Now, I will shock you by saying some of you will do this in 90 days. Some of you will do this in 6 months. Now, everybody can do this in 1 year. Okay. All right. So the reason, part of the reason we're doing this is because this is the original edition. I wrote this book. This was in 2018. So at the time of this recording, this book was written 7 years ago, right? And so I wrote the book and I left the book alone. And I wrote the book because I wanted to leave a gift for my world. I was about to turn 39. I remember it was November. My birthday is in February. And I said, what is it that I could do that would be a gift I can give the world on my birthday? Like I could receive gifts, but I could give a gift. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to write a book and I'm going to share all the lessons that had brought me from where I started off from to where I was at the time. And so I wrote the book. I launched it on my birthday, February 28th. It was absolutely amazing. And, I promoted the book once and I forgot about the book. I completely forgot about it. And then I had a meeting I was going to do for my clients. And this was in 2021. So this was 3 years later. And at the time, I was thinking, I was like, well, what other gifts can I give them that will be an absolute wow factor for them? And I was thinking of different things, like, we're done organizing the events, but it's like, what other wow thing can I give them? And then I remember the book. And so I was like, oh yeah, I wrote this book. Like, I guess I could give them all signed copies. And I went and looked at the book and I started reading through it and I was shocked because I was unrecognizable to me. The people I was working at the time, they did not know the version of me that wrote this book. They never met that person. That person didn't exist anymore. So let me break down what that is. And I want to break it down because I want you to get, like so charged up. Like, Dr. Una, tell me the 7 things. I'm going to start doing them immediately. So when I wrote the book, I was 39 years old. I'd been married for 11 years. I had 4 kids. I owned my private practice and I just started venturing into speaking and consulting. So it was something I did on a really, really, really small scale. It was not something that was a full business. It was not something I generated revenue from. And I also, co-pastored a church with my husband. So this is where I was when I wrote the book. So it was a lot around, how I got married, the stories around having my kids, how I launched a private practice, and how I had become this more confident person, all of those things. But let me tell you where I am now in 2025. So I want you to look at the difference 7 years can make. Okay. So at this time, I'm about to be 46 in a month or so. I'll be married for 19 years in a few months. I've had my private practice now for a decade and a half. I have 4 other businesses. This did not exist 7 years ago when I wrote the book. 4 other businesses. Rise and Shine is a prayer meeting that we've hosted for 4.5 years. And the last milestone we crossed, we had 704 people on live for this prayer call, right? And it's so transformational, hundreds of lives all over the world being changed, right? So that did not exist. It did not exist 7 years ago. This YouTube channel, Success by the Book, did not exist. We just crossed 9,000 subscribers this morning, right? And we're about to cross 300,000 views. And again, live change all over the world. The last time I checked, we have 70 countries that have downloaded this YouTube channel. There have been views from 70 countries, 70, but it did not exist. I run a company called EntreMD, where I help doctors build profitable businesses so they have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their terms. That company did not exist when I wrote the book 7 years ago. That company has been on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing privately held companies in the United States for 2 years in a row. 2 years. It did not exist. um the quality of relationships, the kinds of relationships I have in my life, the kinds of mentors I have in my life, I did not have access to them at all 7 years ago. My ability to hear from God, my ability to get direction from Him for my everyday life, and all of that, where I live this very strategic, very intentional life, this did not exist 7 years ago. One of the things I really wanted to do was to homeschool my kids, four of my kids, because I felt I've developed so much, my, faith, entrepreneurship, leadership, health. I've developed so well in all these areas. And I was like, I want to be able to give this to my children as a gift. I want to be able to homeschool them. Now I do that with all four of my kids, right? We've been able to, do vacations all over the world, right? And these are things that happened in 7 years. Okay. So my question to you is, what can happen in your life in 7 years? I want you to think about it. What can happen in 7 years? So, like I had somebody at church, this happened very recently. This was actually 2 Sundays ago. And she walked up to me. She said, Dr. Una, I'm like, yes. She said, I just read the book, The Fight to Become. That's this book. Okay. And I said, uh-huh. And she was like, I get it now. I get everything you're doing. It makes perfect sense. It can work for everyone. She was like, I get it. I get it now. Right. And what was that? Like, sometimes you build a life and you start getting some wins, and people just assume, oh, maybe you're a unicorn. Maybe that works for people like you. The 7 things I'm going to show you today, they work for everybody. They work for you. In fact, I want you to type this in the chat. These 7 things will work for me. These 7 things will work for me. These 7 things will work for me. They will radically change your life. And everything I mention is going to be within reach for everybody, whether you're here live, whether you're watching the replay, like, it is available to everybody. What that means is things are about to change. A number of these things you may be doing, but now you're going to do it with so much more intention, because if I do this in the next 90 days, I'll be different. The next 6 months, I'll be different. The next year, I'll be different. And if I keep at it, the next 7 years, oh my goodness, like, you will become this person. I had a mentor who would say this: you will never find me after 90 days the same. Every 90 days, I'm different. I was like, how in the world can somebody say that? You can say that. You can say that if you start doing these things where you're like, every quarter, I'm different. What that means is, I want you to think about it. You will have this radical transformation happening, and you will experience it 4 times. Imagine going through the first quarter of the year, January, February, March, you become unrecognizable. You do it again, April, May, June, you become unrecognizable again. July, August, September, unrecognizable again. October, November, December, you did it 4 times. You did 4 cycles of becoming this person who people are like, so what's going on? You have to explain, okay? So I'm going to walk you through these 7 things. These 7 things have worked for me. And the funny thing, the thing that shocked me as I read it, is that these 7 things, they're the things I did to get to where I was at that time. I've not stopped them. There's still 7 things I do. And I can credit a lot of the transformation I experienced, 90% of the transformation, to these 7 things. Okay. So this is going to be absolute game changer. So what I want you to do is, I want you to take the link. I want you to hit the share button, grab the link for this training, and I want you to share it to the people in your world, your family, your friends, the people you're trying to go further with, the people you go to church with, the people you go to work with, and say, listen, I just need you to watch this, right? Why do we do this? One is because we're being a gift to other people. But 2 is because when you do that, you're upgrading your entire network, And what does that mean? Your network is your net worth, right? Your network is your net worth. And if everybody is getting better and becoming unrecognizable, not just you, look at what happens to your world, right? So it's absolutely amazing. Okay. So let's start looking at these 7 things. You're going to see me do a lot of reading. I'm going to read from this book. If you haven't got your copy, you can get the link from the descriptions, and you can get your own copy. It's amazing, amazing read. So I told you I was going to give copies to the doctors, my clients who work with me, and I gave it to them, and they were so mind blown. Why? Because it's like, wow, like I can see that the things you taught in this book, they work, because the version I'm looking at, a version of you I see, almost has nothing to do with the version of you that existed in this book. Like, this is nuts. And I want that to be your story, where people become confused by who you've become because you've changed so much. Okay. I know you're like, Dr. Una, give us the 7 things. Okay. So let's give you the 7 things here. Okay. So seven habits, 7 power habits, 7 massive habits. Okay. All right. So the first one is reading. Okay. It's reading. Now, hear me. These things are going to be simple. You're going to say, I know that. This is not about knowing. This is about asking yourself the question, do I do this? Do I do it frequently enough that this is a habit? Okay. It's not about knowing. I don't think there's anything I'm going to tell you now that you're going to be like, I've never heard that before since I was born. No. But the question is, am I doing it? And am I doing it with enough frequency that this can be called a habit in my life, right? Number one, reading, 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 reading. Now, let me read this quote here, okay? It says, you will be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. This was Charlie Tremendous Jones. I'm going to read it again. You will be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books that you read. Now, when you think about being the same for 5 years, I think it's a tragedy. I think it's a tragedy that you go through 5 years and be the same. But this is something that can happen if we are not intentional about being different. When we're younger, we can change almost by default, but that's really because somebody else is responsible for our development. But I'm 45. Okay. If you're grown, you're gonna get better because you made intentional effort to do so. Okay. And reading becomes a really huge part of that. Okay. So it says here, you'll be the same, except, so you'll be the same. I want you to type, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid that I'll be the same in 5 years. I mean, that is awful, right? Okay. So it's reading. So let's look a little bit. Let me read a little bit from here. Okay. So this is what I said in the book. Reading has been one of the things that has transformed my life. I got a great education. So I'm a physician, right? Which means I went to school like forever. I got a great education, but there's so many things I did not learn in school. So through the habit of reading, I learned how to be a great wife, how to raise my kids, how to manage money, how to start a business, how to build a team, how to be a people person. Like, I don't know if you're an introvert like me, just type in the chat, I'm your cousin, right? Like an introverted introvert is like, I don't do people, I can't network, I can't speak on stages, I can't do any of those things because I'm an introvert. It's a lie. Like, that's not what being an introvert doesn't mean shy, right? Introvert just means that you have a different, like you gain energy from solitude, right? You recharge in solitude. It doesn't mean that you can't dominate on stage. It doesn't mean you can't speak. It doesn't mean any of those things, right? But you can learn to do these things if you read about them. It's through reading I learned to set and achieve goals. And so I say the list is endless. Initially, I read 12 nonfiction books a year. So that's a book a month. Okay. And then I kept upping my game till I got to 50 books a year. Now I want you to see this point I made here. If you will read even a book a month, I want you to think about this, a book a month, and make 3 to 5 changes based on each book. So I read a book of the month. I decide these are the 3 things I'm going to change. I change them. I go to the next book. I read it, decide these are the 5 things I'm going to change. I change them. If you do that, that will be 36 to 60 changes per year. So let me know in the comments, like when you think about it, if you make 36 changes in your life, if you make 60 changes in your life, what will happen? What will happen? Your life will transform in the most radical way possible. That's what will happen. Okay. That's what happened. Your life will simply not be the same. So one more quote. Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. So this is a habit that we do want to develop, like we really want to develop. So I want to share with you some of the books, some of the books that I've read. So I started going through my house. I was like, I'm going to share with them some of my favorite books. And then by the time I got to book number 20, I was like, okay, favorite is one thing. It's not 20 things, right? But I want to share with you some of the books. Now, this is the ultimate book. Okay. This is my Bible, right? This book right here will radically change the way you think. It will change your expectations. You'll be able to download the principles of God, which are the principles that always work and always create superior results. And like, so I don't read the book like to check a checkbox or get my spiritual brownie points, making me a good Christian because I read the Bible. I read it because I want to know who God is. I read it to discover who he is, what his character is, right? What his nature is. I read it so I can discover who he made me to be. Like, now that I'm a Christian, what does that mean? It doesn't just mean I go to church. There are things that changed about me. I want to know what those are, right? The third thing that I read to know is like, what are the principles of God? What are the principles of God? What are his ways? What are his ways of doing things? I'm Hold on one second, guys. Cheating, cheating, cheating. They're totally mowing my lawn and doing all kinds of things right in front of here. Let me see if I can change this for you guys for 1 second. Let me know in the chat if you can hear it. If the sound is good, I'll just go ahead. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know if you can hear. You can hear all the lawn mowing and all the things going on. Oh, you can't hear it. Never mind, Chidi. You can't hear it. Awesome. Okay. And so I read the Bible because I want to know who God is. I want to know who he made me to be. I want to know his principles. I want to be equipped to change my world. Okay? So that's why I read the Bible. So that's the first book. It's the ultimate book. It is the book. Okay? So I'm going to tell you about other books, but this is the book. Okay. So this is the first one. Now, let me run through some of them. Now, I treat books like medicine. So if there's a problem, if there's something I need to learn, if there's an area in my life where I'm experiencing defeat, I'm having a lot of challenges, I'm having a lot of troubles there, then what I do is I find the book that's the antidote. Okay, I find the book that's the antidote. So that's one thing. The other thing is that when I read books, I pick books based on the authors. I don't pick books based on the title. What that means is I look at somebody's life and there's a result they have that I want to have, then I go read their book. I don't pick a title and say, that's an interesting title. I want to read about that. Because people have written books like How to Make a Million. They've never made a million. They've written books about how to build a great family. They don't have a great family. People like everybody in the world doesn't have integrity. Okay. Everybody in the world doesn't have integrity. So I look at the author first because you can't give what you don't have. And then based on the author, I'm like, okay, did they write a book about this thing? Let me go find it. Right. So let me know in the chat if you got it. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna walk you through some books here. And like I could give you 20, but I just have a little stack here. I'll give you those. So this book here is called The No Complaining Rule. Okay, The No Complaining Rule. It's a really good book. It's by John Gordon. And he, it really is about not complaining. And in the times that we live in, guess what everybody does for fun? We just complain about everything. So, if you're a parent, this is very great for your kids to read. So it's good for them to read. For teams, it's good for them to read. For you, it's important that you read so you can live by example. So the no complaining rule. This is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Excellent book, especially if you're an introvert, especially if you don't know what to do with people. I had to read it because I didn't know what to do with people. And then you learn, you read it, you pick three to five things, you go implement them, and then you become so much better at dealing with people. This is one of my favorite. I had my whole team read it. I had all my clients read it. This is the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. This is by John Maxwell, and it's really like the laws of growth. Like, do this. This is what you need to grow. This is what you need to do to grow. Let me see if I can give you. So he has the law of intentionality. Growth doesn't just happen. The law of awareness. You must know yourself to grow yourself. The law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. Do you see how good it is already just from the titles of the chapters? So really good book. This is The Alone Advantage. This is by Terry Savelle Foy. And especially in the noisy, noisy, noisy world we live in, one of the habits of the ultra successful is that they spend time alone. They spend time alone. So this, I got it from when I went to one of her events, read it on the plane. Absolutely amazing book. Okay. All right. If you're like, oh, I can't read fast, I can't learn fast, I read, I don't really retain, blah, blah, blah. This is Limitless. It's written by Jim Quick. He's called a brain coach. He teaches people to read fast. He teaches them to retain information. Really cool. So it's like upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. Okay, so that's that. If you are an entrepreneur and you're like, I don't have time for anything. I'm burning out. I left my job because I was burnt out there to build a business. I could be my own boss and have my own time. And now I'm burned out. Buy back your time. Dan Martell, absolutely amazing book. Okay. Read it, got all my clients to read it. Okay. And then, of course, this is a must buy. This is a fight to become by yours truly. Okay. And this captures my life pre 2018. And I mean, like, it's just mind boggling to read. It's a very simple read. It's a very, very easy read. It's such a game changer, right? So am I saying go get all the books? I mean, if it applies to you, absolutely. But the point here is that if you are going to change your life, you're going to be a reader. Okay. Your family believes in books, right? That's why your father, God, wrote 66 books. That's what the Bible is. The Bible is a compilation of 66 books. Okay. And he wrote them because he wanted you to read them. Okay. So, and for instance, that's why part of the challenge we're doing this year is called a Rise and Shine 365. And we're reading 4 chapters of the Bible every day. Let me say something. If you're not reading, also, I hope this ticks you off. My 9-year-old and my 10-year-old, they're both reading 4 chapters a day. They're reading 4 chapters a day. They're reading 4 chapters a day every day. They have their little tracker. They check off the chapters they're reading and stuff like that. And someone might be like, well, what if they don't understand it? They have the Holy Spirit on the inside of them and they can read, right? Nobody asks, do you understand the video games you're playing? Like, they're reading. Okay, so read. If you're not a part of the challenge, come join us. It's dcgeorgia.org/challenge. Okay, so reading, 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 reading. I've had people tell me, I will never buy a book. I'm like, what? Like, what kind of crazy statement is that? You're called to be a leader. Leaders are readers, period. End of story. Okay. So type in the chat, I'm a reader. I'm a reader. I'm a reader. I identify as a reader. I'm a reader. You might say, Dr. Una, but I haven't been reading. That's okay. You made a decision. I'm a reader. Type that in the chat. I am a reader. Okay. So that's the first habit. The second habit, the second power habit is building my network. That is the second one. Building my network. Building my network. This is so powerful. When I was younger, I did not realize the power of human beings, the power of people in your world. People will change your life. People will transform your life. People, I mean, like, this is what the Bible says. One of my all-time favorite scriptures, Proverbs 13:20, walk with the wise and become wise. Like, whatever you want to be, there are people who are there. And if you weave yourself into their world, you can become like them. So let me read some stuff here. Okay. Now, when we talk about this, network, social network, right? I said building my network. Some people have poor social networks because they are very introverted, others because they don't think they need people. I want you to type this in the chat. I need people. I need people. Thinking you don't need people is one of the most dangerous mindset viruses you can walk around with, because Jesus, your Lord, needed people. He needed Anna, the prophetess, to pray him in. He needed Simeon, who was in the temple, to pray him in. He needed his parents who raised him because he was born a baby. Okay. He needed his parents to lead him and guide him. He needed the rabbis who were teaching in the synagogue. He needed, like his 12 disciples. He needed all these people. So if he needed people, who are we to think we don't need people? You need people. I need people. If we're going to live lives, if we're going to become unrecognizable, we need people. Okay. So I was the former. So I was an introvert, right? Well, I am an introvert, but I didn't do people because I was introverted. But both sides are terribly wrong. Your social network is your social capital. It is as powerful as money. Your social network is your social capital. It is as powerful as money. There are things in life that money cannot get you, but the right contact can. Okay. I have been deliberate about building my networks, and not just one group of people, but three major groups. Okay. So you want to build your network and you want to build it in three major groups. What are these groups? You want to have mentors. So these people are people above you, if you will, like they're further along in their journey and they'll pull you to their level. You want to have colleagues. These are people who are at your level they're also trying to build these unrecognizable lives. So they're paying the price. They're adopting these 7 habits. They're putting in the reps. They're doing all of that. But you need them for the camaraderie, for them to normalize the challenges, for them to encourage you when you have challenges. You encourage them. So you need colleagues as well. And then you need mentees. Your life is too small to be the only reason why you are alive. I'll say that again. Your life is too small to be the only reason why you're alive. So people are pouring into you, right? Mentors. People are supporting you, colleagues. And then there are people you pour into, mentees, right? That's the full makeup of your network, right? Like you want these three people in there. Now, I'm not going to read all of them, but let me give you one. This is one of my favorite with mentors, right? So your mentor in 30 minutes, and to be honest, it can be 5 minutes. Your mentor in 30 minutes can unravel a problem you've been dealing with for over 5 years. And that's the truth. Think about a problem, like a challenge you have in your life right now. You're like, oh my goodness, this is so challenging. I can't take it anymore. There is somebody who would they wouldn't even respond to that. Like they would have a team member they've trained take care of that, because that's not an issue, right? It's nothing to them. Like a problem 10 times that size is nothing to them, right? So when you come to them with this big problem, in 2 seconds, they just dismantle it because it's not a problem. Okay. Now, I know people say there's no shortcut to success, but the truth of the matter is that your mentors are your shortcut. Seek out those who are where you're trying to go. Don't wait for mentors to find you. They will not. It's your job to find them. Don't be afraid to pay for mentorship or travel to meet with someone who has agreed to give you their time. Now, let me read this to you. This happened, this was pre-2018. So I remember a practice I had watched from afar that was doing a lot of things I dreamt of doing in my own practice. I summoned up courage and sent the owner an email asking if I could come watch her practice in operation. To my shock and delight, she said yes. So I bought my ticket from Atlanta to Houston, stayed in a hotel for the night, and showed up in her office on time, even before her staff got there, right? I was already there waiting. She was so gracious and she let me learn from her all day. Now, I want you to understand, I was already a doctor at this time. I was already a pediatrician at this time. I already had a private practice at this time. I already had a very successful private practice at this time. But that lady knew a lot of things I didn't know. She was doing a lot of things that were on my vision board, but I hadn't done yet, right? So I was humble enough to say, can I just come follow you around? That's what residents do. That's not what successful private practice owners do. And I was like, let me come hang out with you. Let me ask questions. Let me see your practice in operation. Now, that meeting cost me money because I had to get my flight ticket. I had to get my hotel. I had to get, like all of those things. And I wasn't at my office. So there's opportunity cost of money I could have been making in my office. So it cost me money, but it saved me at least 10 times what it cost me in the last 6 months. So for the mistakes I was making, or the things I didn't know how to optimize, I was losing more money on that than whatever it cost me to go to her office. So don't try to go through life without mentors. You need mentors. Okay. All right. Now let me give you a little wisdom here. Now, your mentor should be 20 steps ahead of you, not 200. Now, of course, these words are not literal, but the point I'm trying to make is if you are trying to get to your first million in revenue, you don't need to be talking to the person, as a direct mentor, you go for all your stuff, who's doing 1 billion. They're so far away from first million. They're so far away from it, right? Okay. But if you're trying to do your first million and you're talking to someone who has done 2 or has done 5 or has done 10, they're closer to the 1. So they get it. They remember the challenges. They remember the mindset drama. They remember the strategies that they know, oh, I have to implement this strategy, but I'm too afraid to do it. They get it, right? Okay. For example, if the most you've made in a year is $30,000, a billionaire is not the business coach you need. Someone making $120,000 to $1 million may be better. A billionaire's financial strategies make no sense to you till you cross into a net worth of over $1 million. Okay. Okay. So that's the wisdom there. Okay. So building your network, we're only at number 2, but this is so good. Building your network, your social network is your net worth. Okay. So I want you to type in the chat again. I do people. People are like, I don't do people. I do people. I hit in the chat. I do people. I do people, right? Because that's deception. Okay, that's deception. Even the Bible talks about the wisdom of, the right relationships. It was written about Saul when they first made Saul, with the anointed him king and all that stuff. What did Samuel say to him? So this is in 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 6 and 7 thereabout. He says, oh, that as you go on your way, as you're going to Gibeah, you're going to see a band of prophets, and they're going to be coming. They're going to be prophesying, like they're going to be playing the instruments, the lyre, the harp, all of that stuff. And they're going to be prophesying. And when you come in contact with them, right, that you will start prophesying as well, and you'll be turned into a different man. Why? Because he met with somebody. He had an encounter with somebody. They're people. People will change your life. People. Okay. Let's see. Who's saying I do people? I do people. Okay. Number 3, we're making good progress here. So when you see me looking down, I'm reading from the book, The Fight to Become. Okay, grab the link in the comments and get your own copy. Okay, get your own copy. So I'm only reading from one chapter, parts of one chapter. It's a really good book. Okay, Automobile University. This is one of my favorite. This was such a game changer for me. This changed my life. Automobile University. Now I don't drive as much. I do a lot of work, like from home. So now I call it downtime university, but you'll see. Okay, Automobile University. This is the college of the ultra successful. Pay attention. The average American's commute to work is 26 minutes. That is 260 minutes a week, 17 hours a year, and an unbelievable 204 hours a year, 204 hours spent in the car. Okay, 204 hours. Now, rather than listening to music, the news, or idly chatting on the phone, use this time. Use it to listen to audiobooks. Use it to listen to audio messages. Use it to listen to faith-building messages that will transform your life. Think about 204 hours of high-quality information you get just driving. And if you're in Georgia, chances are your commute is even longer, right? But think about it. And you're like, no, Dr. Una, that's the time I like to relax and be on my calls and just talk to people and catch up with people that I owe phone calls. Perfect. That's fine. Then do half the time. Do 102 hours. 102 hours a year will change your life. Okay. All right. So, so let's see. You will learn how to up-level your business. You will learn how to build a better relationship with your teenage son, get out of debt, become a better leader, learn how to hear from God, all in the time you already spend going to work. Okay. Now, so I did a lot of this. Oh my goodness, because my commute was 30 minutes, when I was actively seeing patients 5 days a week. And on my way, so these books you that I showed you, I would get the audible versions and I'll listen to that. Or there'll be certain YouTube channels I subscribe to and I'll listen to that. I highly recommend the Success by the Book channel for it to be part of what you just have of your routine. This is what I put in. And if there are areas you're struggling with, if you don't like the way your marriage is, there's so many books on that. There are audio programs on that. You can say, okay, this month is the month of the marriage tune-up. And every day as you go, you're spending that 30 minutes going, listening. Then you come back, you practice 30 minutes going, you listen again, you come back, come into your marriage, you practice. It could be a relationship with your kids. It could be your health. I struggled for 3 years trying to build this habit of weight training, right? Like I turned 40, then you start losing muscle, you need to do weight training. And I'd start and stop and start and I stop. And I'm like, Lord, something has to give because, I'm planning to be here a long time and I plan to be healthy. I want to be strong and all of that stuff. And he says, you don't identify as a person who lifts weights because you just don't see it often enough. You're not exposed to it often enough. So what did I start doing? I started listening to things around weight training, the importance of it, the skill of it. I started watching YouTube videos and all. And the more I did that, the more I was like, yeah, we the people who weight train, right? So it was a project, right? So use your car to work on a project. So why don't we do this in the chat? I want you to type in the chat, right? Like, what is a project you can work on in your car for the next 30 days? What is that? Maybe you want to get out of debt. Maybe you want to start investing. Maybe you want to get into real estate. Maybe you want to lead your team better. Maybe you want to build a stronger prayer life. Maybe you want to be this person who can hear from God. You want to be a better speaker. I don't know what it is. You want to have a better relationship with your kids. I don't know what it is, right? Type in the chat. What is a project you can work on for the next 30 days in your car? Now, for some of you, it may not be your car. Maybe you don't commute as much. Maybe you work remotely, but you take walks, you do laundry, you take showers. So for me, once I walk into my bathroom, it is investment time. So while I'm brushing my teeth, I'm listening. While I'm taking a shower, I'm listening. I'm dressing up, listening. I was going to say, while I put on makeup, I really don't, it's just lipstick in this, so it takes 2 seconds. But the whole process of getting ready, I'm listening, right? And so I get that. I call it downtime university. Okay, so let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. You have 30 days. What will your project be? Right? Someone said, focus on the family, right? I don't know if you mean the station or if you mean you're going to focus on your family, but what is it going to be? Right? So you're going to listen to audiobooks on what? You're going to listen to audio programs on what? Right? On what? So this is such a game changer. For those of you who are physician entrepreneurs, I have a podcast called the EntreMD podcast, and we talk shop. Like we just talk the business of medicine, like running a profitable private practice, building a brand, hiring the right people, what kind of questions to ask when you're hiring the people, why you should start a YouTube channel, how to do that, why you should write a book, how to have a bestseller launch for your book. Like it's all there. And you can listen and get immersed and listen. And you get out your car, you practice. I mean, it's such a game changer. It's such a game changer. Okay. Okay, beautiful. So I see people talking about becoming the best coach, starting a business, investing and preparing for a speaking engagement, right? And this is Tammy. Tammy, on the 𝐿 podcast, I have an episode that is called Prepared to Deliver Great Talks. It's really good. It's really good. So I know it's for doctors, but the principle is a principle. So you can grab that. Okay. So that's number 3. That's habit number 3. Habit number 4 is giving. Okay. And this is giving to God and this is giving to people. But giving is a master habit. So let me read what I have here. I have a funny saying that I tell my husband often. I don't know why people say you cannot buy happiness. Okay, so listen to this. No judging. Okay, you absolutely can if you will learn to be a giver. Life is designed more for output than input. If someone gives you a brand new house, you might be beside yourself with excitement. But if you give somebody a brand new house, you will be on a high for a while. Okay, be a giver, be generous, set giving goals, and every year plan to surpass your giving from the previous year. So again, I'm reading from The Fight to Become. Okay, and so every year, so be somebody who is generous. Why? Okay, so we've done a lot of videos. We'll link to them in the chat. I talk about my 2 super habits. Um, you know, and this was praying in the spirit and on giving, right? So these are big habits. I go into detail about giving. I tell a lot of our giving stories and all of that. So I want you to listen to that. It's super powerful. I have another video that's why Christians are broke. I talk a lot in it. Well, I gave 5 principles. One of them was giving, and I talk about giving there. But giving will really, really, really change your life, right? Like when you give, it'll be given back to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says that those that give to the poor, they're lending to God. Can you imagine that? It's almost like you're God's bank on earth, right? Like you give it, it's like, oh, I owe you. Can you imagine God owes you? Can you imagine how good that is? Not just for your finances, but for every aspect of your life, right? And so you want to be somebody who gives. You give to God. I hear people arguing about tithe and all of that stuff. I'm like, it's 10%. Like let's even say God did not have the law, which he does, but let's say he didn't, right? What's 10% to someone you love? What's 10% to someone who preserves you? What's 10% to somebody who fights battles for you behind the scenes? What's 10% to the person you call your master? Master means owner, means he owns the 100. So why are we fighting about 10? Be a generous, like just get out of all of that. Be a generous person. Be a giver. Give to God. Give to people. Give to the poor, right? Lend to God because God is their God and their maker. He wants to provide for them, but God doesn't throw down dollars or whatever currency you do use from heaven. He touches his people who then go help people. That's the way that works. Okay, so be a giver. So habit number 1 is reading. Habit number 2 is building my network. Habit number 3, Automobile University. Habit number 4, giving. Be a generous person. We're made in the image of God. We're made after his likeness. We're made to have dominion. That's what it says in Genesis chapter 1:26. That's not exactly the way it says it. That's just, my version. But God's nature, he's generous. He's generous to the good and the bad. He's generous all the time. He's just flat out generous. Okay. So type in the chat, I am generous. 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 Okay. All right. So that's number 4. Number 5. This is so good. Number 5 is reviewing your goals. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, stuff is about to get really real here. Reviewing your goals. Now, of course, that means you set your goals. Okay. Now, if you're like, but I haven't set my goals, Dr. Una, no worries. We did a goal setting workshop. Okay. Right here on this channel. I'm sure the team will post the link, but we did a goal setting workshop. So go get the workshop, sit, and in a few hours, you'll be done. You have your goals set, everything. Okay. But let me read this. Out of sight is out of mind. Okay. After you have developed the discipline of setting goals, you have to keep it at the forefront of your mind. One of the habits I've had over the years is that I review my goals daily. I actually read them out loud. It is this habit that created in me a pipeline flowing with ideas of things I could do. Because that's the thing. You're like a processing plant. Whatever you put in you determines what you get out of you. So if your goals are so far away, it's not at the forefront of your mind at all, the computer that will be generating all these ideas and strategies for you to make it your reality is like asleep. It's on sleep mode, right? But if you have it in front of you, keep coming up with new ideas. You keep coming up with new strategies. You believe it more and more, right? You start attracting the people that you need to help you accomplish them. Okay. All right. So prior to developing these habits, I would set goals in the first week of January, only to wonder where they were in December. Like, what are your goals? Oh, yeah, yeah, where are they? Where did I put them? Goals that you don't know, like you can't even find, are not going to help you, right? You gotta build a relationship with your goals, right? Like you see them every day, you have them, they're top of mind, you remember them, you can almost recite them, you can write them without looking at the paper. Okay, all right. So no wonder I made little progress at that time, way back in the day. Okay. This habit is truly a game changer. You can hang your goals in your bathroom where you always see them, on your daily planner, or taped on your desk. Do whatever you must. Do whatever you must, but keep them in front of you. And so now I have my goals as a screensaver on my phone. In my journal, I have it on the first page. In the notes I use for our Rise and Shine prayer call, I have it on the first page. I have it in my planner. I have it everywhere. Everywhere you look, there are my goals. Okay. And when I do my to-do list, I have my daily 5 things I do every day. And I have like review my goal as one of them. So I literally write it as one of my to-dos every day, and I check it off. Okay. So reviewing goals, reviewing goals. If you're going to do it, let me know in the chat. Tell me, I am going to review my goals every day. I am going to renew my goals every day, every single day. It will change your life. It will change your life. Okay. Now, number 6 is for people who are married. And if you're not married yet, and it's something that you desire, this will be so good because you learn it. You won't have to go through the pain of not knowing this. Okay. Okay. So number 6 is date night. Okay. Number 6 is date night. And the reason for this is, I have, in the order of priority, my relationship with God is number 1. My relationship with my spouse, my husband, is number 2. My relationship with my kids, number 3. And then what I do, like ministry wise, is number 4. Like, when you look at it that way. So it's kind of like God, family, and in family, spouse first, and then kids, and then ministry. And when I say ministry, I don't mean pulpit, right? I mean everything I do to be a conduit that God can use to reach his world. Like God reaches his world through people. And this is just positioning. So this is part of what I do. That's ministry. The Arise and Shine prayer call is part of what I do is ministry. What I do in my business, actually, for the Entre MD Business School is ministry. This is me like supporting the physicians, so they can do what they're wired to do and all of that stuff. So this is all ministry, right? Okay. So I have no interest. So this is my value system. So I have no interest in building a business that I have to sacrifice my marriage for. I have no interest in developing some kind of financial freedom that I need to sacrifice my children for. Like I have no interest, not at all, because my family ranks above those things. Do you see what I mean? Like it ranks above it. And so the thing is, then what do I do? Because saying it is easy. All right. Writing it is easy. Doing it is not, except you're intentional about it. So what do I do to make sure that my priorities are prioritized? So my prayer time in the morning is like a non-negotiable. This I'm about to tell you is what I do for my marriage, is something I do for my marriage on a schedule that is a non-negotiable, right? The things I do with my kids that are non-negotiables. So date night. My marriage is very important to me. Again, I'm reading from Fight to Become. My marriage is very important to me, and it's not something I would like to lose because I was chasing a career. No interest. Okay. A few years ago, after listening to another couple we respect who have mentored us, okay, so that's back to our, like our network. We scheduled a date night because that's what he said. He says, you guys are waiting for spontaneity and, to spontaneously just lovey-dovey schedule a date night. He's like, no, I have a date night every week, right? And we're like, oh, okay, we'll borrow that. Okay. Now, this is an evening where we spend time together, catch up on what's going on with each other, have fun, laugh, and relax. It is known to be a non-negotiable event. Even our kids have this puzzled look on their faces if it's a Tuesday night and we're home. Okay. Like we pastor a church. The people in the church know not to call us on Tuesday, on Tuesday night, because they know where we're going to be. Right. Okay. So marriages like cars need maintenance. Don't neglect yours. Okay. So this is just time we stop to check in and see what's going on with each other, see what's going on in each other's hearts and, challenges maybe they're facing and stuff like that. We don't really talk shop or talk church or talk like it's us, right? It doesn't have to be anywhere fancy. We've had date nights where we just went on a long drive and came back home. We've had date nights where we took a walk. We've had date nights where like it's not about where you go. It's not about an Instagram worthy date night. Now it could be like we've had amazing dates. So I'm not saying it can't be, but it doesn't have to be. It's not something that should bring pressure. It's not something that should be a performance thing. It's just both of you doing your thing, right? Because this is the deal. The more important parts of your life can be neglected. A really amazing spouse can be neglected. A really amazing marriage can be neglected. It's like a garden. Weeds grow. We have to get rid of the weeds, right? We have to tend to the garden. So we plant seeds, we get rid of the weeds, we water the garden, we do all of that. And marriage does require that. Okay. So date night. Date night. This is a super, super powerful habit. Super powerful habit. Okay. Okay. Number 7. I'm so amazed. I didn't know we would get through all of them. I have faith. Okay, time with God. Now, this is the granddaddy of all my habits. Okay. Life is full of uncertainties. Life is full of disappointments, of ups and downs, of trials and pains. And I just don't have what it takes to fix all that or to even understand what is really going on. And if you're here and you can totally relate to that, just say amen. Okay. So there's so much going on. There's so much uncertainty. There are things that you're like, okay, that was not what I was expecting to see happen. Then there's trials. Then there's all these things. I'm just like, that's above my pay grade, man. Okay. So I said, it's beautiful. So again, I'm reading from the book. It's beautiful to hand all that over to God and then do what I believe He's leading me to do. It's beautiful to wake up in the morning and say, Lord, I give you praise. I thank you for this great day. I thank you that I have your help. I have this really big challenge. I don't know what to do with it. But the truth of the matter is there has never been a challenge that was so big you couldn't handle it. And so I invite you to help me navigate this and all of that. And he always comes through. He always comes through. Okay. Okay. So I start off my day spending time with him, reading my Bible. When I pray, I commit the day into his hand because this is what the word says. Okay, so this is Proverbs 16:3. It says, commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed. Where do you do that? In the place of prayer. And God doesn't just care about your spiritual life. He cares about your spiritual life. He cares about your family. He cares about the ministry you put in your hands. He cares about your health, your finances, your businesses, your career, your academics, your development, your social network. He will, do you know, I ask God for relationships. Like, Lord, I need a relationship with this kind of person who can help me with this. And he's brought in so many incredible relationships into my life. He will help you. But we got to ask him. We got to bring those things to him. In a Rise and Shine prayer call, every Monday we have what we call a board meeting with God. Like, why just set goals and run away? We set goals and come to him and we're like, okay, Lord, these are the top 3 things we want to accomplish this week. We give you full reins. You can edit this. You can say, look, that's not, nobody asked you to do all that. That's a distraction, right? Or you can say, this is too small. This is too big or whatever. You can edit my goals. But I'm committing them into your hands. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for your strategy. I'm asking for your guidance and all of those things. We do that every week, right? So this is the granddaddy of it because we're not that strong. I'm not that strong. I'm not that smart. Like when people look at my life and they're like, you're a genius. I'm like, no, he just makes me look that good. He's good. He's smart. He's capable. Okay. All right. So when I read my Bible, I learn solid principles of success. For the last 3 years, so this was 2015 to 2018, I have read no less than 50 books a year. It never ceases to amaze me that most of the business principles that the greats teach are also found in the Bible, right? Like, and so my husband and I, let me see, did I talk about that here? No. Okay. My husband and I have this funny way of saying it. So we'll read a book and we're like, okay, the 3 core principles in the book were 1, 2, 3. And these are the Bible verses that say we should do that. So then we'll laugh and say, God is like, well, since you didn't want to read it in my word, go pay for a book and read it. And it will tell you what I'm trying to tell you. Right? They're in the book. All right. The other thing that happens when I read the Bible is that I see myself for who God has told me I am. We get identities from our friends, like my friend said I'm this, or my parents said I'm this, or based on the color of my skin, I'm this, or blah, 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 blah. But there is a version that God said. He says, you're this. He says, you're a masterpiece. He says, you're made in my image and my likeness. He says, you're a king, you're a priest, you're made for dominion. He says, you are dearly beloved of me. And he has the nicest things to say about us. Okay. So I read the book to hear all the nice things about me. Okay. I may feel like a failure, but he says I'm more than a conqueror. I may be told I'm no good, but he says I'm the apple of his eyes. I may be afraid, but his word says he's with me, so I don't have to be afraid. This habit is the reason why I can keep my calm in the midst of a storm, why I hold on when I feel like nothing is working, and why I can be hopeful that it's all going to be all right. Right? And so that habit of spending time in his word is such a game changer. Spending time praying, it is such a game changer. But I want you to think about this. Okay, let's look at this real quick. So first of all, before I tell you that, So this is the first edition. I didn't actually edit the book. I just changed the cover. But I want you to go get the book. Okay, we read a little bit of one chapter. It's not a ginormous book. It's a really easy read, but as you can see, it's no fluff. It will radically change your world. So get a copy for yourself. Get a few copies for the people in your life. They'll love you forever. They'll absolutely love you forever. It's one of my favorite books to gift out. I've gifted hundreds of copies of it because it's just so amazing. And I'm so grateful that I wrote it, because when you read it and then you look at the before and after, like the person who wrote the book and the person who exists now, and I'm not done yet, you understand that these things work. Okay. All right. And in it, I tell all my stories. I tell, like, not all my stories, but I tell a lot of stories, and the actual process I used to overcome them. I had interesting pregnancies with all of my kids. I talk about all those stories there. I had an interesting story of, how I started my private practice, because I didn't think I could be an entrepreneur, right? I mean, now I'm a serial entrepreneur. So it's like, oh, she knows all this business stuff. I didn't think I could be an entrepreneur. I couldn't even bring myself to hire staff, all this stuff. I share all the things there and all the miracles that God worked. So it's a really good book. Okay. So the link is in the description. Grab it, get a few copies. You get a copy, let me know, because I want to tell you thank you. Right. Okay. But I want you to think about this. If you bring yourself to this place where you start living daily using these 7 habits, you read, you're a reader. This is not something you do once in a while. This is your habit. This is who you are. You're a reader. You build your network. You strategically curate a network, right? You leverage Automobile University. You're giving, you're reviewing your goals every day. You have a date night if you're married. You're spending time with God every day. I want you to imagine the impact you'll have in your life. There's nothing I have said that is so far out there that you can't do. It is within reach for everybody. Within reach for everybody. Type in the chat, it is within reach. It is within my reach. It is within my reach, right? And so God may have shown you who you can be, and you're like, I don't know if I can be that person. If you start doing these things, you will bump into that person, right? You may have this thing of, I am how I am, and that's it. If you do these things, you'll meet a version of you will absolutely love. Like the version of me from 2018, I mean, 2018, I had done stuff. The version of me from 2010, when I first started my private practice, if that person met me now, the person would be like, you're amazing. Will you be my mentor? I'm looking for someone just like you. Like, I want to be like you when I grow up. I have become who I wanted to be when I grew up. Like that version, there's still so much more. It's within reach. If you will read, if you'll build a network, if you'll use your if you'll enroll in Automobile University, if you'll be a giver, if you review your goals, have the date night, and spend time with God, in 90 days, you'll be different. In 6 months, you'll be different. In a year, you will be unrecognizable. Okay? So let me know in the chat if you're going to do it. I am rooting for you. I am so excited for you. I'm so excited we got to have this chat today. I gave you a number of resources, like other videos to watch. Go watch them, right? Like the one I did on the 2 super habits, like the 2 primary ones, which is giving and praying in the spirit. Like go there, go watch that. That's the next one to watch. But start taking action immediately. Start doing these things. Identify as the person who does this. And I cannot wait to hear your story about how you became unrecognizable to yourself, to your family, to your friends, to your community, and to your industry. They're like, how did you become this person? And you're like, let me tell you about 7 habits. Okay. All right. Rooting for every single one of you. Thank you for joining us.